The Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by CNMC, Syngenta Canada, and the Alberta Wheat Commission.
Hey, Kara Oosterhuis here with RealAgriculture.com. We are back here today with another Wheat School episode, and I have here with me Scott Meers of Mayland Consulting. How is it going today?
It's good, yeah.
How are things
I'm in my office. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been able to get out into the field at all yet?
Yeah, I've been out weekly. I have a few scouting clients, so I'm out weekly, and yeah.
Awesome.
Stuff seems to be growing pretty good.
So it's still fairly early, but it's now the time that you should be starting to look for wheat midge. What can you tell producers about scouting for wheat midge and what they should be looking out for?
Yeah, so wheat midge, really the scouting period is when your crop comes into head, when it first starts to head, up until the anthers come out. So that's at the anthesis, what we generally refer to as anthesis. When the anthers come out or flowering wheat, up until that point, the wheat is susceptible to wheat midge, egg laying, and the early development of the larvae. So scouting is from early heading to anthesis.
What sort of conditions does wheat midge like?
Wet. So central Alberta, a little bit wet this year. Delayed seeding tends to play into the emergence of the wheat midge. So we see wet conditions and late seeded crops in central Alberta. So it's a high risk situation coming in this year. The only good side is there's not a massive big population out there. But if you look at the Alberta wheat midge map and even into Saskatchewan, there will be individual hotspots, individual fields that are higher risk. So overall, the population is low, but it's going to be important to scout for midge this year. Delayed seeding, crops that are slow growing seem to be lining up better with the wheat midge population for 2020.
And what does the wheat midge actually look like, and how do you scout for it? Can it be swept, or how do you gather that info?
Sweeping is drastically ineffective. So not sweeping. You're out looking at crops as the evening sets in. So that time of evening when you feel that moisture coming up off the soil, that's the ideal time to be looking for wheat midge. So you have to be out in the fields. What do they look like? They look like miniature mosquitoes, basically. And you will be fighting mosquitoes as well this year, especially in central Alberta. But they look like miniature orange mosquitoes, and they fly much the same as a mosquito. They kind of hover around, and then they'll light on the plants, and you can tell that they're orange when they do that.
And are there any beneficials that attack the wheat midge?
Yes, there's that one you can sweep for. So during the day you can sweep for, it's a little parasitoid wasp called Macroglens penetrans, no common name, but it's quite an effective parasitoid, but it takes a full year for its life cycle to catch up. So typically, we're not seeing any help from the parasitoid in the same growing season. So it lays an egg in the egg of the wheat midge, and it hangs out in the wheat midge right up until pupation the next spring, and then it kills it at that time. So a delayed benefit, I guess.
And what sort of economic thresholds are there out there for wheat midge right now?
Yeah, so fairly well-defined thresholds. 5 wheat midge, one wheat midge and 5 wheat heads when you're doing your evening scouting is the threshold. If you're worried about grade protection, it's 1 wheat midge and 10 heads, and simply you just go out and you look at 10 heads, how many wheat midge are associated with that, and then you check a couple more spots in that area and check several spots in the field to get your read on the numbers. So yeah, it's a fairly well established 1 in 5 wheat heads is the threshold for yield protection.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
spraying is fairly critical timing. You want to be checking close, and then if you have to spray, you should get in there and spray. The most effective management of wheat midge is actually midge tolerant wheat. So if you're in an area that is typically a midge area, you should be looking into and using midge tolerant wheat.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much.